Listen closely. There is a root growing quietly in backyards, old farmlands, even along fence lines, that can feed a household again and again, without replanting, without fertilizer, and without stress. It grows back after harvest. It multiplies when disturbed. And for a long time, it was quietly pushed aside and renamed until people forgot its true value. Not because it is weak, but because it makes people independent. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will see why this single root can change how you think about food, gardening, and survival. Welcome to Garden's Heaven. If you are new here, you are very welcome. This channel is for gardeners who want reliable food without breaking the bank. And to our returning family, thank you for growing smarter with us. Here we focus on tough crops, forgotten plants, and simple garden wisdom that still works today. Before we continue, support this garden family by liking this video so more people can discover powerful food plants like this. Subscribe to Garden's Heaven if you want practical, low-cost gardening knowledge that actually works. And drop a comment telling us where you are watching from. Now let me show you the root they stopped talking about and why it might be the most important thing you ever plant. Okay, let's dive in. Listen closely. Somewhere between what we were taught to farm and what we were told to ignore, a powerful root slipped into silence. It grows without attention, survives poor soil, laughs at drought, and refuses to die even when you harvest it carelessly. Long before fertilizers, seed companies, and seasonal panic planting, this root quietly fed families, year after year. You did not need to replant it every season. You did not need to buy anything special. Once it entered the ground, it stayed, multiplying beneath the soil, while life happened above it. What makes this root different is not just that it grows easily, but that it refuses to be controlled. You can dig it today, and still come back months later to find more waiting for you. Break one piece, and it becomes many. Forget it in the soil, and it rewards you instead of punishing you. For generations, this kind of plant meant freedom. It meant that even if money was tight, rain was scarce, or markets failed, there was always something edible beneath the ground. That quiet reliability is exactly why it was never celebrated loudly. Over time, attention shifted to crops that need constant buying, constant planting, and constant inputs. Crops that make you depend on seasons, sellers, and supplies. Meanwhile, this root was reduced to a side note, sometimes even labeled as a nuisance plant or animal feed. But nothing that feeds a family endlessly is accidental. In this video, we are bringing it back into the light, not as a miracle, but as a reminder that some of the strongest solutions were already given to us, hidden in plain soil, waiting for us to remember them. If you have ever wondered why some older gardens never truly run out of food, this root is usually the reason. It does not announce itself with flashy leaves or neat rows. It works quietly underground, storing energy, moisture, and nutrients in a way that modern crops no longer do. When other plants fail during heat, neglect, or poor soil, this one simply slows down and waits. The moment conditions improve, it continues growing as if nothing happened. That kind of patience is rare in today's gardens. Another reason this root was never encouraged is how little it asks from the grower. You do not buy seeds every year. You do not rush to plant at the right time. You do not depend on chemical boosters to make it perform. Once established, it becomes part of the land itself. You can harvest only what you need and leave the rest untouched, knowing it will still be there tomorrow, next month, and even next year. For households that value steady food over fast profit, this is a priceless trait. Yet many people walk past it daily without realizing its worth. Some see it as wild growth. Some pull it out thinking it competes with other crops. Others only remember it from childhood meals and assume it has no place in a modern garden. But familiarity does not mean weakness. In fact, the most dangerous thing about this root is how ordinary it looks, because ordinary things are easy to overlook. By understanding it properly, you begin to see that food security does not always come from something new, but from something we stopped paying attention to. This root also changes the way you think about harvesting. Instead of clearing everything at once, you learn to take gently. You loosen the soil, remove a portion, and cover it back. What remains underground continues to grow, spreading slowly and quietly. Weeks later, you return and find more food waiting. This rhythm turns your garden into a living storehouse, not a one-time harvest. It removes pressure and replaces it with calm, because you are no longer racing against seasons or market prices. There is also a deep resilience built into this plant that most modern crops lack. Flooded soil, long dry spells, neglect or poor nutrients do not scare it. While other plants show stress on their leaves, this root protects itself underground. Even when the top dies back, the food remains safe below. This is why, in difficult times, people who had this root never truly went hungry. It does not promise abundance all at once, but it guarantees continuity, and continuity is more powerful than speed. As we move forward in this video, I will show you exactly how this root fits into a low-cost garden, why it works in small spaces as well as large plots, and how to grow it in a way that respects its natural strength instead of fighting it. Stay with me, because the closer you look, the more you will realize that this is not just a plant, but a quiet system designed to keep feeding you long after other crops have given up. At this point, if what I'm saying is already shifting how you see your garden, pause for a second and let me know in the comments. Have you ever grown a plant that refused to die, no matter what you did to it? Or one you harvested, and it somehow came back stronger? Conversations like this help this channel grow, and they also help other gardeners realize they're not alone in what they've observed. If you haven't liked the video yet, this is a good moment to do that, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next part, because this is where things start getting very practical. Now here is where many people get surprised. This root is not exotic. It is not imported. It is not something locked behind expensive seed catalogs. In fact, many people have eaten it before without ever thinking of it as a survival crop. It shows up in traditional meals, old recipes, and childhood memories. But what most people never realized is that it was never meant to be planted once and finished. It was designed to stay, to spread slowly, to create a permanent food layer beneath your garden, almost like a savings account you only withdraw from when you need it. When you grow this root with intention, something interesting happens. Your garden stops feeling fragile. You stop worrying so much about weather forecasts, seed shortages, or rising food prices. Even if everything else fails, this root is still there, quietly holding food underground. That peace of mind is what modern gardening has lost. And that is why bringing this plant back is not about going backward, but about moving forward with wisdom. If you walk through old homesteads, or villages where people have lived on the same land for decades, you will notice something strange. Long after fruit trees stop producing and vegetable beds disappear, this root is still there. It survives neglect, abandonment, and even clearing. People may forget the garden, but the garden never forgets this root. That is because it does not depend on human schedules. It follows its own rhythm underground, expanding slowly, storing strength and waiting. What most people never realized is that this root was never meant to be treated like a normal crop. It does not like being replanted every year. It prefers to be settled, undisturbed, almost ignored. The more you respect its space, the more it rewards you. This is why it thrived in the past when farming was slower and more intentional. Once planted, families passed it down unknowingly, not through seed packets, but through land itself. And here is the part that makes people uncomfortable. A plant that feeds you endlessly, asks for nothing, and refuses to disappear, does not fit well into systems built on selling inputs. So over time, attention moved elsewhere. New crops were promoted. Old knowledge faded. This root was pushed to the edges of gardens and conversations. But the soil never forgot it. In the next part, I will begin to narrow the clues, so you can recognize this root when you see it, even before I call its name. Let me give you a clearer picture now. This root spreads horizontally, not in a hurry, but with confidence. It sends out underground runners that form new food points a short distance away from the mother plant. That means, One planting slowly becomes many, without you lifting a finger. When you dig carefully, you realize you are not harvesting one plant, but tapping into a network. That network is why people who grew it never spoke of planting seasons for it. Once it was in the ground, it became permanent. Above the soil, its leaves are familiar. Many people have seen them and never paid attention. Some even cut them back thinking they were useless. But those leaves are doing quiet work, gathering energy and sending it downward to fatten what really matters. When the leaves disappear during harsh weather, the root is not dead, it is only resting. That ability to rest without loss is something modern crops have lost, and it is exactly why this one keeps winning in difficult conditions. If you are listening closely, you might already be guessing what this root is. You might be remembering a meal, a farm, or a garden from long ago. That is intentional. This plant is not unfamiliar. It was simply removed from importance. The root we've been building up all this time is Yacon. Yes, Yacon. Also known as the Peruvian ground apple, this incredible tuber is sweet, hearty, and endlessly rewarding. Its underground tubers store energy, multiply naturally, and even have health benefits when eaten raw or cooked. It's a plant that almost feels too good to be true, yet it has been quietly growing for centuries, feeding families, supporting communities, and never asking for much. What makes Yacon extraordinary is how easy it is to grow. It thrives in modest soil, tolerates drought better than many vegetables, and once planted, keeps coming back year after year. You can harvest selectively, leaving some tubers in the ground to grow larger and multiply. The more you understand it, the more you realize it isn't just a crop, it's a permanent low-maintenance food security system hiding in plain sight. In the next part, I'll show you exactly how to plant, manage, and harvest Yacon, so you can enjoy repeated harvests without ever worrying about running out. You'll learn the tricks that gardeners have used for generations to make it thrive, even in small spaces, and why adding it to your garden can change your whole approach to food forever. Planting Yacon is easier than most people think. Start with tubers from a healthy plant. You don't need anything fancy. Choose a sunny spot with loose, well-draining soil. Dig small holes about 10-15 centimeters deep and plant your tubers horizontally. Space them about a meter apart to allow the underground runners to expand naturally. Once planted, water them lightly but consistently, especially in the first few weeks, until they establish roots. As Yacon grows, you'll notice tall, leafy stalks that can reach up to 2 meters. Don't be intimidated. These leaves are working quietly, sending energy down to the tubers. You can trim excess foliage if needed, but avoid cutting too much. The more leaves it has, the more energy the underground tubers store for future harvests. That's how it multiplies and becomes a permanent low-maintenance food source. Harvesting Yacon is just as rewarding as planting it. You don't need to uproot the entire plant at once. Gently dig around the edges and remove only the tubers you need. Leave some behind, they will grow bigger and multiply for next season. This selective harvesting is what makes Yacon a forever root. Even if you forget about it for a while, it will still be there, patiently storing energy and waiting for you. The beauty of Yacon is that it fits almost any garden size. Even if you have a small backyard, a few plants can produce enough tubers to supplement your family's food supply. And because it multiplies naturally, you can share the extra tubers with friends and neighbors, spreading food security without spending a cent. By now you should see why Yacon is more than a plant. It's a quiet revolution in your garden. It teaches patience, rewards care, and reminds us that some of the most powerful solutions were always hiding in plain soil, waiting for someone to notice. And there you have it, Yacon, the root that keeps on giving, quietly turning your garden into a permanent food source. By planting it, you're not just growing food, you're growing independence, resilience, and a connection to the wisdom of gardeners who came before us. If this video opened your eyes to a new way of thinking about your garden, do something now, like this video, so more gardeners can discover this hidden gem. Comment below to share your experiences or thoughts, and subscribe to Gardens Heaven to keep learning how to grow smarter without spending more. Remember, the best gardens are the ones that keep giving, quietly, endlessly, and at zero cost. Keep your soil alive, your roots strong, and I'll see you in the next video.